So I'm happy to rise today to actually address the motion. And see, I can change. I can pivot on a dime. I can pivot on a dime. Furthermore, I just want to take this time to stop and thank all the doctors, the nurses, personal support workers, and any other frontline healthcare worker who's been through so much during this past year. I also want to thank the small business owners who are keeping their heads above water. And I know it's difficult. I know it's challenging. I was a small business owner as well. I went through the from '89 to '92 slowdown in the economy, and unfortunately, it was a challenge, but I got through it. Lastly, I want to thank all the Ontarians for doing their part in social distancing and wearing masks. The end is in sight, and we cannot lose sight of our goals for the safety and protection of our entire community. Now, this is a very large bill, and it encompasses many different components. I want to take some time and highlight some of the key sections which I feel will benefit Ontarians significantly, in addition to some exciting news from my riding of Chatham, Kent, Leamington, and our neighboring riding of Windsor, Essex. Our government said that we're going to protect the people of Ontario, and that is exactly what we are doing. Look, we're on the forefront of a battlefield, which I've often called World War III. Only we're not able to see our enemy, but our fight isn't over. With all this well thought out and carefully planned bill, we will emerge stronger than ever before, investing in much needed projects that were neglected by past governments. Speaker, Ontarians have always been this government's priority, and I want to show you how we are stepping up and exceeding these expectations. This third phase of our government's action plan is investing in over $34 billion to help Ontario families. Now, this funding will benefit communities, businesses, health and safety of citizens, and of course flow back to the benefit, in order to benefit all of Ontario and our economy. Part of this funding will also be used to strengthen the public education system. It'll be used towards building state-of-the-art infrastructure, such as expanded transit and subway lines. And the funding will also be used to expand broadband internet, which we talked about earlier this afternoon, across this entire province. You know, I wish I held a magic wand in my hand, and I could wave that magic wand and say, there's your subway, there's your highways, there's whatever else that you're asking for. But it takes time. Oh, and by the way, it takes money too. It takes money too. And that's why we need to keep building this economy. We are aware of what the people of Ontario want, and we're making sure that our future populations continue to grow. Now, I want to talk about COVID-19. Two very simple words, COVID-19. Focusing on this pandemic alone, this government is bringing you, the people of Ontario, $51 billion in total support towards COVID-19. As my colleagues have mentioned in past debates, we have invested more than $16 billion to protect our healthcare system from COVID-19. $16 billion. Now, that wasn't on the books a year ago, but we had to deal with a pandemic. And as a result, you know, we've had to spend a lot more than what our previous budget had indicated. Some people think that we're spending like Liberals. Well, that's not true either. You do what you have to do. We treat the people of Ontario as our family, and you do what you need to do to protect your family. These vital costs include much-needed personal protective equipment to keep our frontline workers safe. Now, listen, we're keeping this information very transparent so that anyone is able to see how our government is spending taxpayers' money to benefit all of Ontarians, individually, collectively, as families during the pandemic. This bill or this motion is a step in the right direction to help and recover from this pandemic. And look, we understand the mental health impact COVID has had on families, the challenges that families face, young people alike as well. It has not been easy. That's why we're using $3.81 billion, investing that in mental health supports, and that's over a 10-year commitment to mental health and addiction. And for the first time in our province's history, we're also creating the first Center of Excellence for Mental Health. Look, our government sees just how important mental health is and understand that COVID hasn't been easy on any of us. And these commitments and funding will surely benefit all of Ontarians now and also for future generations. Now let's talk about long-term care and our seniors, our most vulnerable. Let's not forget our loved ones and some of our most vulnerable citizens who are residing in long-term care homes across Ontario. To protect these loved ones, our government is investing an additional $650 million just this year to keep people safe. This funding will be used to buy the much-needed supplies, such as more masks, other PPE resources. It'll also be used to increase staffing across these homes so that residents have the support they need when they need it. In addition, this funding will now bring the total amount of funding since the beginning of this pandemic to over $2 billion. Our government is also well aware of the wait list problems that seniors are experiencing to get into long-term care homes. That is why, through the budget, we have announced 30,000 new beds. Now, it was mentioned in a debate from my colleague, the past government took nearly 10 years to build only 611 new beds. Knowing that information, I would like to reiterate my previous statement that we are planning to build 30,000 new beds for Ontario. That is an investment of $933 million to make this need a reality, bringing the total investment to $2.6 billion. I'm kind of excited because in my riding of Chatham, Kent, Leamington, Franklin Gardens in Leamington will be getting 40 new beds, and the existing 120 beds will be upgraded into a new facility. As well, Copper Terrace in Chatham will be renovating 64 beds with an anticipated start construction in December of 2022. And lastly, and I was very pleased to meet with the Executive Director of Meadow Park Nursing Home in Chatham, and they are going to be building on a new site, and it's kind of a one-stop shop, as I call it, because they are going to be building a long-term care home on an existing site that has townhouses, retirement homes, and long-term care. It's called St. Angela's Meadow Care Center, and they'll be getting 61 new beds and 99 upgraded beds as part of a new facility anticipated to be constructed in February 2022. In addition, $246 million will go towards improving the living conditions in already existing long-term care homes. These facilities will ensure air conditioning for residents to improve living conditions and keep airflow to help reduce COVID-19 infection rates. And here's something very, very important, and that is that we are increasing the average direct care to 4 hours a day for residents through our government's $4.9 billion investment. But in addition to that, we're also investing $121 million to help speed up the training of almost 9,000 personal support workers, PSWs, which will go hand in hand with hiring more than 27,000 new positions, which would include more PSWs and nurses to help those in need. And I want to give a shout out to St. Clair College in Windsor, because I've spoken with the president of Patty France, and they're very excited about the offerings that they have for these PSWs. Now look, by having more jobs and hiring more workers not only benefits residents in long-term care homes, but also our economy. Not only are we specifically helping seniors in long-term care homes, but also seniors who enjoy living in their homes. And therefore, through an investment of $160 million of the Community Paramedicine Program, we will be able to bring seniors in their homes the care and attention that they need throughout 33 different communities, including my riding of Chatham, Kent, Leamington, and Windsor, Essex. We need to keep our most vulnerable citizens safe, and through these investments, you know what? We will. Now, speaking of vulnerable citizens, since COVID-19 pandemic began and people have been spending more and more time at home, we've noticed an increase in domestic violence. Feeling safe in your home is a fundamental right, and no one, woman or child, should have that taken away from them. Our government is stepping up through the budget, and we are taking action to support those in need. By allocating money towards support services for women and children in need, we will ensure that they always have somewhere to go to get help. And we're also investing $8.2 million over a 3-year plan to support and protect our First Nation, Inuit, Métis women and girls across Ontario. Additionally, we're also investing $18.5 million over 3 years to support survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking and help them to find safe places to live. You know, Speaker, I want to add that a few years ago, before we had actually formed government, I had conducted 3 different human trafficking information meetings, seminars, and the biggest one that I held actually had over 600 people attend at the Bradley Centre in Chatham. And I want to give a shout out to those who helped make that a success, and that is the OPP, Chatham Kent Police Services, Victim Services. We also had a survivor who addressed and spoke to the grandparents, the parents, the children, students, as well as Chatham Kent Health Alliance. This commitment to support these survivors is among many government promises that are actually being fulfilled, ensuring that those found guilty of breaking the law are punished. And I would like to see the punishment to the full extent of the law for those perpetrators. Let's talk about child care for a moment. You know, we introduced changes to the Taxation Act back in 2000, the Taxation Act 2007, which will directly lift financial burdens from Ontarians and businesses. Our 3 changes to the Taxation Act 2007 will have a focal point on supporting parents through child care. And therefore, we are proposing a care tax credit for 2021 that is a 20% top-up to the child care access and relief from expense tax credits. We understand the stress of child care and want parents to be able to choose the child care program that works for them. Let's talk about jobs and the economy for a moment. We've all heard about the economic impacts that it's had on our economy. I mentioned that earlier. We know the struggles that small business is going through, and we are fighting for jobs with the Ontario Jobs Training Tax Credit. This particular tax credit will provide close to $260 million in order to support over 230 Ontarians in 2021. In addition, we have included in the proposed bill enhancements to another tax credit called the Regional Opportunities Investment Tax Credit, or the ROITC. Now, with employment growth lagging in certain industries, our government in March of 2020 wanted to encourage companies and businesses to invest in these areas to stimulate better growth for our economy. And by having these different businesses build, renovate, or purchase commercial land or industrial buildings, they could be eligible for a 10% refundable tax credit. Look, we are working hard to put money back into the pockets of Ontarians. Another way we're doing this is by doubling the tax credit rate from 10 to 20% through the ROITC. In addition to that, I want to talk about small businesses. Specifically, our government believes that small businesses are the backbone of our economy. And today I'm going to tell you how through this bill or this motion we are showing how much we back that statement. We've already held the first round of the Ontario Small Business Support Grant payments, but now we are expanding our support for small businesses by providing a second round of funding. So look, eligible recipients will be able to get $10,000 up to an additional $10,000, totaling $20,000. in order to help their businesses through these tough times, especially when they're locked down. Not shut down, when they are in lockdown. Because that's lost business for them. And we know that, and we're sensitive to that. If a local business has already applied for the first round of funding, they will automatically be entitled to a second equal payment to that of the first. I want to say, though, that the response to this program has been overwhelming. So if you haven't yet got or received, your first round of funding, be patient. They're working around the clock to ensure that you get what you deserve and what you have applied for. So far, over $1.4 billion have already landed back into the pockets of local businesses and owners, with only an average waiting time of 12 days. Well, it's getting a little bit longer than that now, but be patient with us. Be patient. Now, I want to talk very briefly about the Children's Treatment Center in Chatham. Kudos to the Executive Director, Donna Litwood-Mackey, her fundraising team, and her entire staff. They have been working in a facility servicing over 5,000 students with special needs for many years, and that facility has been outgrown for many, many years. Well, I'm pleased to announce that our government has come through, and Chatham-Kent will be receiving a brand new children's treatment center. The ground is ready for digging, for build. And of course, this facility will provide the care and the treatment to 30,000 families with young patients in Chatham-Kent. It includes investments to support people and jobs in Chatham-Kent, including the Chatham Treatment Center in the amount of over $23 million. As Donna Litwood-Mackey said, our dream for a new children's treatment center has come through. And the money will help bring a state-of-the-art facility for the children's special needs. I also want to talk about the Windsor Regional Hospital, because I've been working with individuals, CEOs of both the Windsor Regional Hospital, David Mouget, as well as the CEO of Hotel Dieu Grace Hospital, Jan Caffer, and also a friend of mine now, Carl Strachey, who formed a group to, in fact, push hard to get Windsor Regional Hospital to a second phase for funding. Our government listened, and now that funding will become a reality, and they can continue to move forward. It's going to take a while. I mentioned earlier about a magic wand. It's going to take a number of years before it's complete and servicing not only the people in Windsor, Essex, but also the catch basin as well, which probably includes Chatham and a few other areas. So again, I want to say thank you for your perseverance to the CEO, David Mouget, Mayor Drew Dilkins, as well as the other lobby groups, and so on. And the last thing I want to mention very briefly here is that Windsor Hotel Dieu mental health inpatient bed expansion renovations to Hotel Dieu's Tafer site has also been approved. There's been some talk about Highway 3 and 401. I just want to suggest that the project on Highway 3 is started, and that's good news for the safety of the people from Essex through to Leamington. And Highway 401, build the barrier, Carnage Alley. We're starting on that as well, and I'm very excited to see the expansion because of the Gordie Howe Bridge. Once it's built, the transport traffic will be immense, and we need to have safety. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you. Questions? I recognize a member from London Fanshawe.
Thank you, Speaker. And I listened to the member from Chatham-Kent, and he mentioned that COVID is like a battlefield, and that there's we can't see it, and we're fighting a battle. And one of the battles, I think, that was the greatest battle that's being fought is on long-term care, the frontline workers. And so I wondered, the government did acknowledge and gave them a bump up in wages for a temporary period of time, and I just wanted to ask the member, why the government didn't see fit to include that permanent wage increase for the valuable work that people are doing on the front lines in our long-term care who was hit the hardest during this pandemic.
Response, the member from Chatham-Kent-Leamington.
Can help when your knee slips out on you when you go to stand. Ouch. I want to thank the member from London Fanshawe for the question. And you know what, you do make a very valid point, okay? Looking at this pandemic, you know, let's just isolate it for a moment, okay? And within that picture that we have in front of us, you know, our PSWs, our doctors, our nurses, anyone in the healthcare field have gone above and beyond. You know, you see the signs on the road all the time, on front lawns, you know, a hero lives here, and so on. And we don't take that lightly. And so we felt that because of, and we realized that they deserve more than perhaps what they are currently receiving. That's why we did what we did.
Response?
Within that particular window. So again, you know, we do appreciate and totally appreciate the impact that our healthcare workers have, you know, in our communities, especially in our long-term care homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? I recognize the member from Whitby.
Well, thank you, Speaker, and good afternoon. You'll know that the Ontario budget includes $16.3 billion for health and protecting people in this great province that we have the privilege of representing. Can the member from Chatham-Kent talk about the impact of that money in his riding, and especially the new Children's Treatment Centre that he's been working hard to acquire for his riding?
Response, the member from Chatham-Kent-Leamington.
Thank you, Speaker. I want to thank the member from Whitby for his question. And the people of Chatham-Kent were so excited to hear the announcement that the Children's Treatment Centre of Chatham-Kent will finally become a reality, a new one. As a matter of fact, when I called the executive director, Donna Litwood-Mackey, she filled up with tears. Yeah, gets you there. Because, you know, we fought hard. We fought hard for that. Even before we formed government, we were fighting hard for that. And kudos to Donna and her team for never giving up, pushing hard. When you believe in something, you work hard, you fight hard, you overcome obstacles. And I want to thank them, and I want to thank the member for that question. It means so much.
Question? I recognize the member from York Southwest.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was listening intently. The speech of the member from Chatham-Kent-Leamington, and he talked about long-term care, he talked about the frontline workers, BSWs, and he talked about small businesses. And we know now all these issues, the government has let us down. And we know now a lot of small businesses, even though the program is there, a lot of them are still having difficulties to access it. We know that the frontline workers, the BSWs, now are also having difficulties of getting a living wage. The long-term care, now my question is, what has the government done to recognize these frontline workers, to give them a living wage, and to at least raise their salary into $4
Question.
per hour?
Response, I recognize the member from Chatham-Kent-Leamington.
Thank you, Speaker. And I want to thank the member from York Southwest, and, you know, for your question. You know, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for any government at this point in time, because you also have public sector and you also have private sector, especially in the long-term care homes. And I know and I understand, don't agree, but I understand, you know, the opposition's stand with regards to private nursing homes. It's not up for us to identify, because a lot of those nursing homes are unionized as well. So that's a negotiation thing, okay? But again, we saw fit to provide an additional funding at our expense, at the government's expense, to assist these long-term care PSWs and other people that are working in these facilities. I think it's very, very important that, you know, they get recognized for what they do.
Response?
And you mentioned, did you say response? Okay, so that means they don't have a whole lot of time left, does it? As a matter of fact, with what I'm doing right now, I'm probably killing the rest of that time. So thank you very much. I'll sit down right now. Look forward to the next question.
Further questions? I recognize a member from Brampton West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm thankful to the previous government for showing us and presenting us a model that what a government should not be like. And our government has delivered so much in last 3 years what previous government was not able to deliver in last 15 years. As people of Brampton are very excited that we're getting a new hospital, a medical school. And I know that member from Chatham-Kent, we are also getting a new hospital in Chatham-Kent. So can you please tell the House how excited people of Chatham-Kent are for this new investment?
Response? The member from Chatham-Kent-Leamington.
Well, I'm so excited, I just can't stand it. I'm about to lose control. When I think about the people and how they have suffered from 15 years of neglect under this former Liberal government, and to now see the hope that our government is providing, to the people of Ontario, and more specifically the people in Brampton, as well as down in the Windsor regional area, with a brand new hospital that will service a catch basin of not just Windsor-Essex, but also a good chunk of my riding as well. With state-of-the-art, they will be able to attract, top doctors in the medical field.
Response?
They'll have top equipment. And I am just so excited for the people. It's going to take a while. It's probably going to take maybe 10 years to get it built. But it will get built, and those people will have the health care they need. Thank you.
Order. Further questions? Member from Spadina-Fort York.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We've heard the member opposite and many government members talk about, praise their small business grant. I just received this email from a small business owner in my area an hour ago, and she says, I'm getting in touch because of my nightmarish experience with the provincial small business grant. We applied for the grant on the 22nd of January. We began receiving emails informing us that the band account information didn't match the business information. I called 3 times and emailed once. No one could give me any information. On the 14th of March, I received another email. I called the helpline and was on hold for 25 minutes. I have no faith that this grant will occur at all. I am frustrated, discouraged, and stressed. A year of this has been awful, and now, like so many, I am really struggling just to get through a day. The experience with the small business provincial grant has been awful. They have done so little for small business, and their grant system is clearly not working properly. If it shouldn't be this hard, do you have any ideas? So I will relay that question to the member opposite. How can you praise the small business grant system when the experience of small business owners like this one is so awful? Thank you.
Response? The member from Chatham-Kent-Leamington.
Thank you, Speaker. It's easy to praise. We've had over 120,000 people apply, businesses apply. Now, has it been easy? No. But I've had similar situations as your constituent has with their business. And I'm working hard, as you are, to find out reasons why. But you can appreciate that it just doesn't happen like that. It takes time. And sometimes what we have found is that people did not, when they go online, they have not completed the form correctly. Maybe to your point earlier, when you mentioned that the name of the business didn't mention perhaps the Canada Revenue number. So again, you know what?
Order.
I understand that. I understand the frustration. But you know what? Let's focus on what we can do to help your to help my constituents who are experiencing similar challenges. But you know what? We will get through this. They will, if they've completed everything properly, they will get what is coming to them. Thank you.
Thank you.